The CEO of Duke Energy joins Lee Gallagher for a conversation on leadership, our energy future, and what it's like to be in charge of the country's largest electric company. Please welcome Lee and the President, CEO, and Vice Chair of Duke Energy, Lynn Good.
Thank you, Mihal. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So Lynn, it's great to have you here. Lynn is a new face to MPW. She's never been here before. Even the CEO of a $53 billion energy company has to wear a red name tag. So she was wearing a red name tag. And it's just been great to have you here. A little bit about Lynn. She became the CEO of Duke Energy in July 2013. You were the highest ranking newcomer to our Fortune Most Powerful Women list last year. You're on the list again this year, and Duke is number 123 in the Fortune 500, so there's some scale there. You're not new to Duke. Lynn was Executive Vice President and CFO prior to that, taking on the CEO position, and she had been at the company in a variety of roles before that. So Lynn, let me ask you, let's talk about where you came from before we get to Duke. You are from Ohio. You went to Miami University of Ohio. You spent the first half of your career at Arthur Andersen. And then that went away in 2002, when, as we all remember, it seems like ancient history now, but the company went out of business due to its affiliation with the Enron scandal. You have referred to this as professional heartbreak. You were one of the highest ranking partners in the Cincinnati office. Tell us what that was like.
I would think about the Andersen experience as being a catalyst event, and I'm sure many of the women in this room have had various events that have affected you in a profound way, and this one certainly affected me that way. You think about learning about the indictment of the firm, which happened sometime in March of 2002, and the firm disappeared within 6 to 8 weeks. So everything that you had worked for, a career that you loved, colleagues, clients that had been a big part of your life, and in some ways the way you defined yourself. It just disappeared in a very rapid time frame. And watching how that impacted people was really extraordinary. There were some who were so devastated it was tough to move on. And for me, it was a great reminder of the importance of the other aspects of your life, so things like family and friends, that are really anchoring when you go through a period of change like that. And so part of my mantra during that time of chaos was to let it go. I would say to myself, in actually in words, let this go, so that I could move on. And as I look back on that, it has changed me in a lot of ways, and changed me for the better, I believe. And so
How did it change you?
You know, it makes you realize that you are not your career. You are the asset. So, if I could articulate that clearly, so we often define ourselves by our career. Don't do that. Define yourself as a professional, as a mother, as a friend and colleague, and then put yourself to work doing whatever makes you happy and what you're passionate about. And so as I thought about finding new assignments, I was really looking for things that would enliven me and something I could be passionate about. And it just changed the way I thought about my career.
But then you went on to have this extraordinary career in the energy business. And how did you rebuild? Before we get to Duke, just quickly, how did you put one foot in front of the other?
I went to Deloitte and Touche for a very short period of time, really to situate my clients and my people. So the firm was breaking up. It was difficult to reach a decision about your own career, so I was focused on people and clients. And then I moved to a company called Synergy in 2003, which I moved there because the leadership at Synergy thought of me as a professional and not as an Andersen partner, because an Andersen partner was not a well-regarded part of a resume at that time. And so I took an assignment at Synergy and worked my way up to ultimately Chief Financial Officer at Duke over about a 10-year period.
That brings us to your elevation to the CEO role, which happened in a somewhat unconventional way. Duke had just purchased Progress Energy, and the board, the CEO of Progress was supposed to be the CEO. The board ousted him immediately, and after a time, you ultimately became the CEO. Were you hoping that would happen? I mean, were you not that you were, what was that like? I mean, what was that kind of route to the top like?
It was an extraordinary time. So what Leah is describing happened in July of 2012, and I was the chief financial officer of the combined company, and I turned my focus immediately to what can we and the employee base at Duke control. So we focused on 5 very important business matters that would move the company, integrate the company, deliver financial results to underpin confidence. The last thing on my mind was who was going to be the CEO of the company, because I needed to demonstrate that we were delivering on the promise of the merger. And so the board undertook a CEO search that began in January of 2013. They were public about looking for outside and inside candidates. In January of 2013, I was within 5 months of being an empty nester. My youngest son was graduating from high school, and I thought my objective during this search process is to come through this with all of my options open. I'll handle it gracefully. I had no idea that I would be considered a CEO. So it worked out in a way that has been great, professionally, but I'm also proud to be a part of Duke Energy.
It's amazing. So 7 months into your unexpected role as CEO, you had something else unexpected happen, which was that there was a...
You all don't want to fly on airplanes with me. All of the unexpected things that happen.
No, I think you have a little bit, you've got some good energy going on, so to speak. So in February of last year, one day, there was a spill in North Carolina of 30,000 tons of coal ash from a storage pond into the Dan River. And this was an environmental crisis. It was a PR crisis. It's something you're still dealing with every day. Walk us through that a little bit and walk us through maybe the biggest lesson you've learned from that.
So as Lee said, we had a spill on Super Bowl Sunday. It was a Sunday night. I just sat down to watch the game. Here comes the phone and the email. And there's so much written about how to deal with a crisis, and I think there have even been panels at this conference talking about it. So there are playbooks, in effect, on how to deal with this. But I would tell you, when you are in the moment, it doesn't feel like there's a playbook. And so the first thing that I really focused on was trying to get my hands around what is it? And it sounds so simple when I describe it to you now. It was a pipe that broke and we released ash into the river. So it's an engineering problem, right? You've got a pipe to fix. Let's make sure we've got engineers and contractors out there fixing pipes. But it became so much more than that. And it grew and developed over time into an environmental issue that was bigger than just the pipe at Dan River. It really called into question the whole storage of ash around the country, which is more than North Carolina. It's everywhere in the US. It became a part of the political landscape in North Carolina. Even today, there are ads in the political arena in North Carolina that are drawing attention to environmental matters. And so what I would say to you is constantly try to keep perspective, continue to define what it is, communicate as much as you can, both internally and externally. And I would also say stay calm and regard this as a long-term matter. As much advice as you get about how to solve something quickly, these issues are never solved quickly. And so you have to have a long-term perspective, how you're going to incorporate lessons learned, how you're going to address this over time. And stay calm and carry on is what I would say is something that is so important. But carry on with some urgency because there are a lot of things that need to be addressed.
Did you hear from a lot of people kind of giving you advice? And if so, what was the best piece of advice and who did it come from?
It's interesting you ask about advice because when I say you need to get perspective on what's going on, that's another way of saying get advice. And so I reached out a lot during the early days. How does it feel in the field? I went to the site so I could put eyes on it. How does it feel in the state capital of North Carolina, Raleigh, where my key stakeholders are? How does it feel in employees who are being asked lots of questions in their community? And so part of the advice I was seeking was trying to get perspective both within the industry and in North Carolina about what this was. And that was extraordinarily helpful to develop a game plan.
It makes me, reading about this, it made me think of someone else who we're going to hear from in a little bit, who's also going through a crisis, Mary Barra. Did you find yourself just kind of thinking of her situation in a different way as you were going through this? Or?
I certainly read a lot of Mary Barra articles. because she was facing at about the same time a crisis, and understanding how she was responding and how she was addressing some of the issues were actually helpful. Again, trying to get perspective on how to move forward.
Does anyone have a question, thought, comment for Lynn? Anyone from the audience? I have more, so I can keep going. Okay, let's talk about, here we go. Yeah.
Hi, Josette Sheeran with Asia Society. What does energy look like 10 years from now?
That was going to be
That
my
was a question.
And is your business model just changing completely?
So our business is changing, and energy is an exciting place to be. Customers have more interest in choices and control, and technology is being developed across every aspect of both generation of energy to delivery of energy, energy efficiency, energy management. And even things like shale gas discovery, which we talk about and read about, but for my industry, it's extraordinary, basically introducing a whole new commodity to generate energy. So as I think forward 10 years and 20 years, we will continue to incorporate new technologies and hopefully do so in a way that continues to ensure reliable energy and affordable energy. And if you look at us in the US, we have some of the most reliable electric service any place in the world and some of the least expensive. So as we adapt and change, we don't want to lose sight of those two important things. But I think it'll look different.
Anyone else? Lynn, you and I talked a little bit about the path from CFO to CEO, and I said, oh, well, what about the operational experience? You had a lot of operational experience, but you had said that the role of CFO has changed as well. It's more strategic than it once was, and it can be more of a path that way. Is that something you can comment on?
Sure, and I'm sure there are some CFOs in the room. At times I think that word financial defines it too narrowly. Because I found the deep involvement in strategy, deep involvement in operations, how you make money, what are the choices you need to make, the risks, both financial and operational, so that you allocate resources appropriately. It was just a broader role than just reporting the numbers or meeting specifically with investors. And so I found that broad experience very helpful as I transitioned into my role.
And let's talk a little bit about your style as a leader. People say about you that you're direct, you're diplomatic, focused. Someone said impatient.
That might be true.
Does this all sound familiar? Tell us how you've evolved as a leader a little bit.
I would say I'm very focused, and I suspect most people who have a lot on their plate, you're trying to figure out how to get your attention directed to the right thing. So focus is a part of it. I have a passion for what I do, and a passion for the excellence and the excellent company that Duke can be. And at times that passion is coupled with sense of urgency, and that can appear impatient. I work really hard on that, and I think all of us do, because when you're watched as closely as you can be as a leader, you need to think about how your actions and words and activities translate deeper into the organization. So coupling that impatience with a calmness is important. And then I love relationships. I love developing relationships with key stakeholders of the company, with customers, with employees. And that personal connection that you could make around your business not only makes you better in making decisions, but also makes it incredibly fun.
And on weekends, you sometimes find yourself at the Formula One racing track?
So I have 2 sons. And as a family, we try to spend time together around the things that the boys love. And so I have one son who's passionate about Formula One racing. So I probably know more about Formula One racing than it may first appear. And I also have a son who's passionate about soccer. And so watched a lot of World Cup soccer this summer.
What do they think about their mom being the CEO of Duke Energy?
I think you should ask them. I hope they're proud.
Great, I'm sure they are. Well, I think we've learned some great lessons from Lynn. Let it go, adapt, and keep it all in perspective. So thank you for being here with us. We hope you'll come back again.
Thank you. Lee, thanks so much. A pleasure. All right.
It was great. Okay. So